Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Morning Commute here on the Roastico channel. How's everybody doing? Good. If you're not so good, I am sorry to hear that. Hopefully a little bike ride will lift those spirits. I know it always does it for me. Let's get on our way. It's kind of an interesting morning. It's a bit overcast today. Oh, green arrow. Yippee, yippee, yippee. Yippee, yippee, yippee. That is my favorite part. I love it when there's absolutely no cars out in front of you, so you can just wander up. I don't know if it's picking up on camera, but this cloud over here looks genuinely insane. It looks like a gigantic cloud that's like coming down into the valley. It's kind of cool. Oh, we just crossed over 1,500 miles on this thing. Yeah. All right. So, for our first weekly topic, we're gonna start with why. Why do this? Why commute to work at all? A lot of people are under the impression that motorcycle riding, being a motorcyclist, is a dangerous activity. And you're not wrong. But if you think that driving a car is inherently a safe activity, then you are also wrong. There's inherent risk to everything you do. And just like in a car, you put on your seatbelt, you have airbags. On a motorcycle, I wear a bodysuit, and I have a helmet, gloves, and boots. The helmet, gloves, and boots are kind of like a seatbelt, in that they're going to be some of the first lines of defense to protect my far extremities, my hands and my feet, but as well as the most critical organ in your body, your brain. Now, is a helmet perfect? No, and neither is a seatbelt. Seatbelts decapitate people all the damn time, especially people that wear them properly. Seatbelts hurt people, seatbelts burn people, but we are glad they are there. Just like me when I wear my helmet. I have never been in an accident at speed, thankfully. I've only been in a few stationary tip downs, and that was embarrassing enough. But if I were to go down at this speed, I would certainly like to have my helmet on. And, just like in a car, there are people who seem to think that the consequences don't matter to them, so they don't care about wearing a seatbelt or putting on a helmet. So like I said, the topic of this week is why commute on a motorcycle. And I started the conversation by trying to debunk some random person's inherent fear of these machines. And I guess I should strike at the core of what this fear really is. And it's that we as people don't like being exposed. These things expose you to the elements, and that is not a fun experience for a lot of people. And that is entirely understandable in my opinion. You don't have to like motorcycles, you don't have to do this or have to do that, whatever. I do have a pet peeve when it comes to car drivers on this topic. And that's that a lot of car drivers seem to think that it is their responsibility to tell motorcyclists how dangerous it is, as if we don't know. As if the danger isn't kind of part of what we're doing here. Now, it's not that I have a death wish, but that feeling of being exposed, the feeling of having direct control over a machine. These are nice feelings to have. It tickles the brain right in that spot that won't shut the hell up. I can do this, I can talk, and I can spew my ramblings all perfectly coherently and whatnot. But what's going on back here behind the camera? Nothing. Brain is silent. I have to actively think if I want to keep bringing up new topics to the conversation. So that's another reason. Shuts the brain up, which leads me to another reason many people state. It's therapeutic. Is it really therapeutic? That's debatable. Experts don't seem to quite agree. It can be a positive experience for a motorcyclist. Does it fit the definition of therapy? No. Because there's no growth here. Right? At least not cognitively speaking. I don't have to face my problems when I'm here on the bike. I just get to put my problems away for a little bit so I can go to work. That is not the same as solving your problems, which is what therapy is kind of about. Oh boy, it is real busy today. I did not think it would be this busy considering the traffic on Mountain View was like nothing. So yeah, it's not quite the same as therapy in the sense of the academic term of the word, meaning that it's a meeting with a professional and you sit down and talk about your feelings and write down your problems and come up with ways that you can either make them matter less to you or work them out in some way, resolve your problems. You know, don't perpetuate the cycle of toxicity that we all fall into sometimes. But as a supplement, or for some people as a replacement to cognitive behavioral therapy, picking up a lifestyle activity like motorcycling can be quite a positive experience. I know it was for me, and I know it is for a lot of people as well. So let's see here, if I can remember correctly, that's like the first honest to goodness reason why we commute on motorcycles, with the 0th reason being that it's not that dangerous if you're properly trained and you're wearing your full gear. So first reason would be because it's therapeutic, or how I would put it is it feels good to you. What's another reason? Well, motorcycles are significantly lighter than cars, which means across the board, no matter what motorcycle you are riding, you are going to be driving a more fuel-efficient vehicle than a car. I don't care if it's a Prius, I don't care if it burns gas. If it burns gasoline and has an engine, a motorcycle is going to be more efficient. Why? Well, that would be because this thing weighs 400 pounds. That thing over there weighs 2 tons and only has an engine that's a couple of orders of magnitude larger than this. And it doesn't make orders of magnitude more horsepower. It makes probably 3 times the amount of horsepower for multitudes more of weight. It's just basic math. Smaller engines on smaller vehicles carrying fewer people is going to be a more fuel-efficient situation than one person riding in their Ram 2500 to work every day. Especially with gas prices being how they are right now, spending $5 a gallon on regular gasoline to fill up my car once a week for 80 to 100 bucks feels ridiculous compared to going to the gas station every 3 to 4 days on this thing and filling her up with $12. In fact, here, I can turn on a real-time fuel display. So if you look there, it looks like I'm currently making about 65 miles per gallon, which is the rated fuel efficiency of this motorcycle. If I turn on the throttle, though, it goes down. So yeah, you save fuel. Now, do you usually save on other things? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on your situation. Insurance on this vehicle is quite expensive, considering how new it is, the state I live in, how old I am. I spend about $100 a month on insurance for this thing, which is quite steep compared to my car. My car is only about $22 a month for insurance, and this is also way more expensive than other bikes, so that's not like a hard and fast rule. A bike is not always going to be more expensive on the insurance side of things compared to a car. A car can be much more expensive on the insurance side of things than a motorcycle. A motorcycle can be more expensive than a car. It's all up in the air. You got to get in touch with your local insurance broker and find that kind of stuff out for yourself. In terms of repair cost, yeah, bikes can actually be a little bit more expensive depending on how much mechanical knowledge you happen to have as an individual. If you can do your own chain maintenance, if you can do your own oil changes, that'll get you 99% of the way there. If you're not doing regular maintenance at the dealership, you're going to save a shit ton of money. But if you don't know anything, if you don't know the first thing about taking care of a motorcycle, doing its maintenance, then you are going to struggle with how expensive this hobby is. So for me, in my situation, this is a cheaper situation than driving a car. And I want to be very clear, that is not always going to be the case for everybody. You need to individually evaluate it for yourself. Because it could end up being more expensive and you might not realize it until you got rid of the car and started riding bikes full time, which would suck. So we've talked about the fuel savings. We've talked about it sort of being cheaper in a lot of ways. What else? Why else do we do this? Why else do I put myself in harm's way every day to come to work on a motorcycle? Well, there is space savings. This might not seem like a big deal. It is probably the largest reason why I do this. Cars take up so much space, more space than I think you realize. This entire lane is taken up by a car. Right? And that, that's obvious, right? That's what the lanes are designed for. But at the same time, we are riding vehicles to and from singular locations day in and day out, transporting one person at a time. Why are we driving around 2-ton vehicles that hold 5 to 6 people? Or sometimes even 7 or 8 people. It makes no sense to me. So, by switching to a motorcycle, I am saving so much space. At least out here on the road, when I go to park, it takes up less space, and I can usually fit it in places where you can't fit a car. For instance, at work, they have this little hashed off section that they do not allow cars to park in. But went and had a talk with the security folks, asked them if I could park the bike there, and they said yeah. Because the bike is small and it stays out of the way. People can move around it. You can't really move that effectively around a car. Like, look at how much of the infrastructure of these streets is dedicated just to serving cars. There's this tiny little section on each end of the road meant to service bicycles. Then there's another section meant to service cars. Then there's the section for pedestrians. Meanwhile, the rest of the road is all for cars. Because cars take up so much space compared to the people and things that they are transporting. If I know that 99% of my days at work, I am bringing myself and a backpack, unless the weather is god-awful, why the hell would I take a car? Does not make sense to me. Like, look, this guy's probably going to work. He's in a Z71 GMC Sierra. Tell me, do you think that's an effective use of money and resources and space? I don't think so. Okay, and this is the final reason why I commute to work on a motorcycle. I can lane filter in this state. And oh, it is so fun. Lane filtering is the act of pulling through the center lane of vehicles when traffic is at a stop and you are approaching a red light. It does not mean riding the shoulder, it does not mean cutting into the middle. It means going in between the cars when there's two lanes going in the same direction. This is more commonly legal in the United States, as in, this is the version of lane splitting that you see on social media all the time because this is what's legal in a lot of places. California being the only place where full lane splitting is legal all the time. If your state allows lane filtering, it's going to be like Utah, where it's only sometimes, like this. You know, you might be asking yourself, okay, yeah, sure, that's nice for you as a motorcyclist. You get to cut the line. You get to be in the front. And yeah, that is a nice thing. That is a nice bonus. Don't even get me wrong. It's great. But it helps you too. A lot of people don't realize that as a car driver, it helps you too if I am lane splitting. Now, it's not immediately obvious as to why, but if you think about it for a moment, if I didn't take the bike, I would be in a car, which would be another car on the road that you would have to wait for in traffic. Versus, when I'm on a bike, I get to leave the flow of traffic and remove traffic. Lane splitting eliminates traffic. Is it a patch-all solution? Hell no, it's not. You need other solutions and additional lane filtering, but adding an incentive for commuters like me to switch to commuting on the motorcycle instead of commuting in our cars, you know, it saves fuel. We've already talked about that. Saves space. We already talked about that. And lane filtering makes it safer and better for everybody. And that's why I commute to the work on the motorcycle. So, I hope this video was entertaining. I hope you got something out of it. Thank you for watching. And I shall see you next time, folks. Peace out.